Now, I've been looking at reasons why players hate certain frames, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about Nyx. Nyx is a frame that is extremely old, which is an understatement. Now, the reason people hate her is for pretty simple reasons, actually. So let's take a look at her abilities real quick before I get started. Her passive, Nyx gains 40% critical chance on primary and secondary weapons per confused enemy within the affinity range up to 200%. Now, mind control. Nyx seizes control of a target's mind, compelling them to fight for the 10-0. Controlled enemies have increased radiation status chance. When Nyx shoots them, they also have an increased damage multiplier. Now, psychic bolts. Nyx unleashes a volley of psychic bolts that track and strike nearby enemies with telekinetic precision. When enemies are slain, additional bolts scatter to new targets, striking foes, weakens their defenses, and transfers a portion to Nyx. This is her survivability. It gives Overguard. It's pretty decent. Now, Chaos. Nyx releases a devastating psychic pulse, disorienting enemies in a wide radius and forcing them to turn on each other. Confused foes lash out at random factions. And then finally, Absorb. Nyx draws in and contains the damage dealt to her and the damage confused enemies deal to each other, then converts it into a devastating radial blast. Following the blast, she enters a brief invulnerability state and gains a weapon damage boost proportional to the absorbed damage. Now, as I've just listed off all the abilities, I'm sure you can tell what the main problem some people have with her is. If you can't guess, don't worry, I'll tell you. It's the fact that she can't nuke. So the first main reason people have a problem with her is that she has no nuking capabilities, which is a big deal in today's meta, where everything is nuking. Her gameplay itself revolves mostly around control, with her mind control ability, which is considered pretty boring by most of the player base. And then moving on really quickly, the second reason is also revolved around mind control, where the AI is very clunky. It's not that good. Now, most AI summoned in this game suffer from the same problem of having poor AI, whether it's Wukong's Celestial Twin or Necros' Shadows of the Dead. And Nyx's mind control is no different. In fact, it might be one of the worst ones. And now, the next one is the Overguard Effectiveness, her second one, the Psychic Bolts. This is a pretty big one, actually, because it's not her only survivability ability, as her fourth does give her invulnerability, but she can't move during it. And if you give her the augment, she can move, but she's incredibly slow, which doesn't fit the meta of bum rushing super fast and wiping out the board. And then the Overguard Effectiveness is ineffective because you need to hit Xmas enemies with it. So if there isn't a surplus of Xmas enemies, this is pretty useless, unfortunately. And then, as I mentioned, her fourth just makes her too slow. It either keeps her in place or you use the augment and she's too slow, which doesn't fit the meta of being insanely, stupidly fast. And then finally, the last problem is that there's just better alternatives. There's better alternatives for a summoner, there's better alternatives for somebody that does crowd control, armor stripping, or just increased damage, and there's no real reason to go Nyx other than liking Eleanor. People go Nyx for Eleanor. This is something that Region Chat says all the time, that if you go Nyx, it's because you have Eleanor's skin and not Nyx herself, which I completely understand, which makes perfect sense because honestly, I don't think I've ever seen a Nyx without the Eleanor skin. And honestly, that's pretty much just about it. So with that being said, if you guys know any other frames that get a lot of hate, please let me know down in the comments. And if you have frames that you just absolutely love, please let me know down in the comments as well. I love to hear about that. And with that being said, that's just about it. Until next time.